What up, Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. On this channel, we love to talk about crowdfunding, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, how to get funding for your passion, how do you get funding for your dream, how do you really turn your passion into profit at the end of the day. And on these videos, I love to get into this, man, share with you the marketing tactics, talk with you the strategy, all of that, and really break it down in a kind of a fun, no-nonsense fashion. So if you are a writer in the audience, first of all, welcome. And also, man, I am also a writer, and I view it as something that's just like a labor of love. It's a passion. I've been doing this since a little kid. So I really hope that my advice to you are really gonna help you on your journey as a writer and also unlock the power in Patreon. Let's get straight into today's YouTube video. All right, man, so again, my name is Salvador Briggman. Welcome back to this channel. And if you have been watching me for a little bit already, I would love it if you could give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you like this video and my content. So let's get into this. Patreon tips for writers. That is the subject of today's video. Now, if you're a writer, you're not necessarily a marketer. And marketer can be very discomforting. It can be very weird to kind of be promoting yourself. And I want to get into some of the ways that you can actually earn more when it comes to Patreon and some of the tips as well, specifically for writers that are out there in the audience. So the first thing is that this is going to be kind of like a crash course in marketing. It's gonna be a crash course in promotion and really in business building, if you want to put it that way. So the first thing that I have for you is that you need to have some kind of a funnel, okay? You need to have a funnel that leads people from wherever it is that you have their attention into your Patreon community. The first tip is gonna be building a funnel, and we'll talk about what that means. So what does a funnel look like? You know, obviously a funnel, and this is my horrible drawing, kind of looks like this. Kind of looks like a triangle, almost like a pizza slice, I guess, the way that I drew this, right? It feels like a pizza slice, but you're basically funneling people into a source which you want. So for example, let's just say that you're doing a blog as a writer. You're putting out blog posts, you're putting out content like that. So you have a particular website. So this is your website, and people can go and check this out, and they can see your writing and whatever it is that you're putting out there. Maybe it's free as well. So people go and they're checking out your blog, and maybe this is really entertaining, kind of witty stuff that you're doing. It's on a particular subject of some kind or something really important, and you want to monetize this using Patreon. Your name of your game is to take this, I'm going to label this as A, take this awareness which you've generated here and transition this through a series of steps into your Patreon campaign. So I'm going to say P. This is the funnel. It's almost like turned on its side, right? You have a ton of people that are checking out your writing in some kind of a fashion. You need to have their attention, their attention in some way. And what you're doing with your marketing is that you're transitioning all these people into your Patreon campaign. So there are two key things that go into this. The first is that you need to have an awareness campaign. So the people who are coming to this, let's just say that we're going to put little stick figures here. There are people that are checking out or that are reading your writing, right? These people are aware, their eyes are on here. They are aware of what you're doing here. They may not be aware of your actual Patreon campaign. So within your site, so that could be, for example, here on the sidebar, it could be in the top bar, it could be within the content, it could be a pop-up which you have, whatever it is, you need to begin to build people's awareness so they start to turn their attention more and more to understand what you're doing with this Patreon campaign. You need to turn their attention to this so you're building awareness among your crowd. First of all, that you even have a Patreon. The second is that you need to give them a reason why they should go and check it out. So this is really where you're then starting to push traffic. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to have more and more people coming from your site, checking out your Patreon campaign. Now, the process that we talked about here, which is really, you know, mentioning your Patreon and doing that, this is what's called a CTA. CTA stands for call to action. A CTA is, for example, in my blog post, hey, go check out my Patreon because of this reason. Or it could be a banner on the side of your site. Or it could be, if you have a social media, right, linking to that in some way or mentioning it occasionally. You have some kind of a CTA. The more that you mention this call to action, what you want people to do, the more that people are going to do it, right? But in order to do this in a non-spammy way, you also have to say, what is the benefit of coming over here and checking this thing out? You know, why is it that they should actually come here? So this comes down to your reward tiers, okay? So we're thinking about the funnel. We got a bunch of people, let's just say, that are then over here and they're like staring at this and they're like, this is kind of cool. Let's take a look at this Patreon campaign. Why is it though that we should actually back it? So this comes down to your reward tiers, okay? Your reward tiers, also known as your perks, the things that you're offering to them. Maybe you're offering insight into your creative process. Maybe you're teaching something. Maybe you're also offering early insights in terms of, or early access to new things before they even get published. So you could be raising money on Patreon using what's called subscription-based crowdfunding. You could be raising money on Patreon on a monthly basis or on a per creation basis, whatever it is that you're doing. The more interesting these reward tiers, the more likely people are to take action, to check it out, to go and actually subscribe and become a member of your community. So the first thing to take away from this video is that you need to build a funnel. That funnel starts with taking your core, whatever you're putting out there, having CTAs embedded, driving traffic traffic to this Patreon campaign and having interesting or compelling reward tiers that prompt people to want to actually become a part of your community. Now, there are very advanced ways to do this, and I talk about this in my free course when it comes to actually launching a Patreon campaign, when it comes to getting people to take action, when it comes to proven techniques and strategies in order to turn strangers into patrons. I talk about all of that in my free course. It goes beyond the scope of this video. So my first tip is that you need to have some kind of a funnel. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description. The second tip that I have for you, once they join this little community, so you have a bunch of people here, we'll just say this is like a party that's going on, okay? So I'm so bad at drawing, as I mentioned here, but we'll just say this is like a house, okay? And you got a bunch of people here in your Patreon community, and they're all partying, they're all having a good time. They're sipping pina coladas, and they're sipping cocktails with Hemingway. You know, they're having such a great time. You ever see that one movie, Midnight in Paris? It's kind of like that, right? You got a great time that's going on. That's a great movie, by the way, with Owen Wilson. It's all about writers as well, which is a really, really good movie. What that being said, you got a bunch of people that actually convert from this funnel and they go into your house, they go into your Patreon campaign. The number two thing that you need as a tip is you need what's called a retention strategy. What that means is just because people showed up doesn't mean they're gonna stay there, okay? Just because they showed up doesn't mean they're gonna stick around for the long term. So this is also something you need to think about, which is how can I get people excited, first of all, to join the community? And then number two, what are some easy ways in which I can get people to stay a part of the community and to understand the value of the community? So I'm gonna give you just a couple of easy ones. So one would be, for example, you can do, based on the tier, and Patreon allows you to do this, you could do a welcome message, which is something that's really easy to do just to make people feel heard in the community. The other is some kind of CTA embedded for new people. So for new people, go and do this, or go and check out this, or say hi or introduce yourself, or whatever it is that you want to have people be. Have them also aware of how to get the most value out of what you're doing. So if you're doing live streams, for example, showing up at this particular time, add this to your calendar. You need to get people participating. The more that you have people's engagement, I'm kind of getting low here on the page, the more you have their engagement and also their participation, the more likely they are to stay around as a part of any kind of membership community. So you need some kind of a retention strategy. Another great idea would be making people feel valued and heard. So for example, maybe you decide to mention someone's name in the next piece that you do if you're doing blogging, or you say this was inspired by this person who's a member of the Patreon community. Make people feel special, welcome them, okay? The more that they can feel these emotions that they're really craving to feel, which is why they're supporting you, man. Why they're supporting you, they want some kind of special feeling out of this. It's not just like, Netflix or something where you're getting content, right? But really supporting your innovative creativity. So how can you give them access to that in a sense? How can you also help them if they're interested in learning more from you in deeper ways? But in addition, how can you make them feel special? That is a great way to get people to stay around. And that's one of the hallmarks of any good retention strategy, is making them feel like there's no buyer's remorse, right? But also they're getting tons of value out of this and continuing to the future. And you're also changing things up throughout the year, and they also have interesting things to expect. Number three, and just to reiterate, I do have a free course down below, which I will be linking to. I think it's at crowdcrux.com/Patreon course. I'd have to double check though. I think it's around that. And it really goes through the step-by-step process of doing a Patreon campaign, launching it, some of the tricks in order to get patrons, some of the ways in which you get people showing up, growing your community over time. So eventually you can do this full-time if you want to. And that's really the focus of my channel, is how do you do what you love? How do you turn your passion into profit? So we talk a lot about that on the free course, specifically when it comes to Patreon. So make sure you check that out. My number three tip for you is to build your broadcast network. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay, so your broadcast network. A lot of people think that their medium itself is the broadcast network. Because you think about it, like if you're a blogger, you're putting out free stuff or whatever it is you're trying to do online with writing, you think that that's your voice, right? That's one part of what you're doing. However, as a person now, nowadays, obviously, you need to have your own personal brand. You need to have your own brand online. You need to build out what are called broadcast network or distribution mediums for your content. What happens if your site ever gets taken offline? This is exactly why you need to have your own backups and network. So what are some simple broadcast networks that you could have? Some simple ones would be just having an Instagram following, putting out stuff on Instagram. It could be Facebook. It could be other things like a Facebook group. It could be things when it comes to, if you really want to get experimental, you could do TikTok. It could be other things as well, like an email list. There's so many easy ways in which you can build a broadcast network. And when you have a broadcast network, what it allows you to do is coalesce your fans. So people might be checking out your work for free online in some way. Then with this funnel, are getting some of them to stay around as your fans in some way, subscribing or becoming a part of your social media following, maybe multiple channels even that you have when it comes to your social media channels that are out there. And in that way, they're tuned into your messages, they're tuned into your marketing, and then you can promote every once in a while to your Patreon community. And it allows you to own that traffic. You're no longer just dependent on other people. You're starting to have your own presence online, your own mini community, your own broadcast network. And that makes it so much easier to monetize this because people also see you again and again and again, and they start to become aware of what you're doing and the value of joining your Patreon campaign. I hope you enjoyed today's video with a couple of different critical tips when it comes to Patreon tips for writers, really thinking about the marketing, the funnel, the retention strategy, building out a network. These are all incredibly important things for you as a writer to do, particularly if you want to do your writing full time. If you want to turn this passion into something that you're actually profiting from, you got to do what the big boys do, right? So if you want to learn more about this, I got that free course down below. You can check it out. I hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, you want more content, I got tons of free videos out there as well on Patreon. So give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.